Cameron and Kelly Craft were also invited, but only those three accepted the invitation. The Kentucky primary election will be held next Tuesday, May the 16th. The Kentucky gubernatorial election is on November the 7th. At Churchill Downs, there are questions being asked about the horses, about the track, about the trainers, after 7 horses died in the days leading up to the Kentucky Derby. That disturbing number renews pointed questions about horse racing's ability to protect its athletes. David Mattingly finds some urgent calls for change.
It was the sport's biggest day on its biggest stage. But 7 dead thoroughbreds at Churchill Downs hijacked the spotlight, focusing its glare on horse racing's biggest problem.
Come together as an industry, all hands on deck, everyone has a role to play. And we need everyone to be engaged, to be working towards this mission.
After being created by Congress, the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority is mired in lawsuits filed by groups resisting national oversight. Rules and penalties at one track still do not apply at others. And in the wake of the Churchill Downs fatalities, criticism of the fractured sport is amplified.
And the American public is getting sick and tired of seeing this body count on America's tracks. America's tracks are turning into crash sites, and that is not acceptable.
Numbers compiled by the Jockey Club show the rate of fatal injuries dropped in 2022 for the 4th straight year to 1.25 deaths per 1,000 starts. That's the lowest rate since the Jockey Club started counting in 2009. Not good enough for people demanding national rules and consequences for owners and trainers who break them.
There has to be more at risk for the people putting horses in competition than say, oh, I'm so sad. It's a terrible disappointment for me that I don't get to run my horse in a race. Well, it's a worse disappointment for the horse who's dead.
Lacking uniform standards and national enforcement, the spike in deaths of thoroughbreds at Churchill Downs, to some critics, raises the biggest of red flags. If this could happen at Churchill Downs, it could easily happen elsewhere.
I think it's hopeless for those tracks that are smaller, where there's nobody paying attention. We have people discussing protocols for Churchill Downs, but at some racetracks in the United States, they don't even require a veterinarian to be on the track when the horses are racing.
Your keys are waiting, so think Chris Offenberg keep.
We interrupt this program for a first alert weather advisory.
All right, folks, we have a tornado warning now that has been issued for the Advance area. As you can see, we've got this gust front that's wrapping right into this storm that is headed into Advance. And that is why the warning has been issued. We can see this rotation right here. So I want to zoom in. This is, again, for northern Stoddard County, parts of Bolivar County, and southwestern Cape Girardeau County. You can see this is the possible tornado forming right here. This is headed right into Advance. It's going to be crossing Highway 91 here and eventually near 25. Again, this is a radar indicated tornado. We don't have any confirmation of a tornado that is down on the ground, but again, we have the possibility of a tornado developing right here, and it's in an area where the gust front from the storm to the south has advanced very far to the east, but it backs up to the west right over Advance, and that is very favorable to get some spinning going on north of the Advance area. So again, we have a tornado warning, some large hail likely here as well with this storm. I'm going to pan out just a bit here, folks, because again, parts of Cape Girardeau County are under this warning as well. I'm not sure about the sirens, how they're sounding right now, but I want to kind of tell everybody, excuse me, that if you live in Cape Girardeau or Jackson, this is not going to impact you. This is going to stay to the south. This will probably go just south of the Delta area, but if you're anywhere along Highway 25 in southwestern Cape Girardeau County and in northern Stoddard County near the Advance area, we need to be taking shelter right now. You need to get in your safe spot. That safe spot will be a closet, a bathroom. We want to get into an interior room. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Stoddard County. This gust front, boy, you can really see it right here. I was just looking at some of the velocities on the gust front. This gust front is showing velocities of 60 to 70 miles per hour when the radar beam is hitting it. So very gusty winds well out ahead of the thunderstorms. and this will move through, and you could lose some power or have some tree damage. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, the actual thunderstorm moves over your area with the possibility of some small hail. So again, our biggest concern right now is near the Advance area. You need to be seeking shelter right now. Get in your safe spot. A basement if you have it. If you don't have it, we want to get into that interior room on the lowest level of the floor. A bathroom if you have it, closet. And again, there are some times that the bathroom may not be an interior room. If the bathroom is on an exterior wall, that's not your safest bet. The closet that is surrounded or interior throughout, that is your best bet. But here's our possible tornado. If it holds together, it's going to be moving across parts of Scott County as well. The circulation should stay north of Sykeston and south of Scott City. I want to give you a first alert that it should stay north of Sykeston and south of Scott City. So let's zoom back into this possible tornado. Again, this is a radar indicated tornado, but it is in a very favorable location. And let me explain why we were concerned about this. I really thought that they were going to issue the warning and kind of told the folks in the studio, in the booth, we're going to get a tornado. And sure enough, we got that warning. But this gust front is well out ahead of the main storm, but you see how it turns to the west. So it is being ingested by this storm right here. And as this storm moves to the east a little slower than the gust front, we've got a good chance of seeing a spin up right here. And it's right near the Advance area. So if you live in Advance, again, you need to be seeking shelter. For you folks in Marble Hill and Grassy, I know Bowling County, I don't know if they're sounding the sirens there. This circulation will stay to the east of Zalma. This circulation is south of Marble Hill and Grassy. Excuse me, we don't have anything to worry about tornado-wise from Marble Hill down towards Zalma and Grassy. It's the Advance area. Chaffee, this should stay just to your south, but you may get hit by the hail core as well. So let's zoom on in. I want to get a few more roads to pop up so you can get an idea of where this possible tornado is headed. Again, we've got Highway 25 here in southwestern Cape Girardeau County and extreme northern Scott County, or excuse me, Bowling County. I'm struggling here, folks. Give me just a second. Stoddard County is what I'm trying to say. And then as we head towards State Highway O, coming out of Advance, this is where that possible tornado is going to track. So let me zoom out just a little bit more, and let's put a track on this. Again, it's moving at about 25 to 30 miles per hour. So I'm going to track it at 30 just to be on the safe side, to give folks a little extra time. And again, as we draw right from that circulation, and we're going to kind of go off, you can see I'm really zoomed in. You can see how slow this is moving. We'll go about 30 miles per hour. You can see some of the areas that will be impacted over the next hour. Again, this is a possible tornado. We do not have any confirmation from it, but let's scope it and see if we can see some of the shear again. Again, it wrapped up pretty tightly as we were going to that commercial break. And you can see it right there. That is the circulation. That's what we're concerned with. This is southeastern Bowling County, extreme northern Stoddard County, and southwestern Cape Girardeau County. It's right there, kind of at the intersection of all three of those counties where we are seeing the possibility of a tornado. I'm going to check to see if we see any hints of debris, and I really don't, but I do see a hail spike. That's a pretty significant hail spike coming off there. So let me see if the ZDR is showing any hail. We're not seeing any large, giant hail, but we got a very strong updraft. Excuse me, and it's right over that rotation. So what does that mean? As the storm's rotating, if the updraft is right over that rotation, it stretches it and makes it more likely for it to reach the ground. Again, a very strong gust front is racing out ahead of this system. You can see Dexter, very heavy rain, possibility of some small hail. You can see this is well east of Poplar Bluff. The worst has moved through your area. So let's zoom on out and get a look at the entire heartland, because there's some of you that may just be tuning in, wondering what's happening. Well, we've got a storm that's interacting with a gust front that is spun up, and it is possibly producing a tornado right now near the Advance area. Again, it's not moving very fast. You can see how slow this storm has moved all night. But once the gust front catches up with it, it will accelerate it a little bit off to the south and east. And as you can see here, you can see we have another severe thunderstorm here in Randolph County. That one, if it holds together, will impact parts of Perry County in southern Illinois. This one is mainly for hail. It's kind of an elevated storm, and radar indicates quarter-size hail. Strong gust front, again, moving through the Dexter area right now. We have another severe storm near West Plains. That could impact the Donovan area before the night is over. And again, we'll continue to track this as it heads towards the Boot Heel and parts of western Kentucky and northwestern Tennessee. Excuse me, but right now our biggest concern is this tornado, possible tornado near the Advance area. So let's zoom on in. Again, you can see this is where the possible tornado is. Let's take a look at the scope and see if the shear looks any stronger or any weaker. It's interacting right there, and it's still showing the same. There's this, and this is really moving slow, folks. As you can see, it's moving at about 20 miles per hour right now, and the circulation is right over the town of Advance. So Advance, you are seeing the greatest threat right now for the possibility of a tornado as we're tracking this right now across Highway 25 in Advance. So if you are in Advance, you need to be seeking shelter right now. I know there's some flat land, a lot of flatter land. There's some hills out there as well in some areas, but I know there's a lot of homes that probably don't have basements near the Advance area. Those are the ones you want to get into the interior closet or bathroom. Again, we put as many walls between you and the outside as possible to keep you safe from the possibility of flying debris moving in through the walls or through the window. That's what we're talking about right there. That's our rotation. Now, that rotation is moving off to the east-southeast. So again, that's why I said for most of Cape Girardeau County, we're going to be okay. This circulation is going to stay well south of Cape Girardeau and more than likely stay south of the Delta area as well. We could zoom in a little closer to get some more roads that it may impact with some hail and some very gusty winds. We'll zoom on in. You can see, again, the circulation is right over the Advance area. And State Highway O coming out of Advance, headed towards Scott County, this is where the track is going to go. It's going to go right along State Highway O. It's basically going to parallel that area. So, yes, the extreme southern parts of Cape Girardeau County, if you live along Highway 25 and you're south and west of Delta, you need to be in your safe spot right now. Again, we talk about that basement if you have it, or that interior room or closet if you have it. Again, it's just for the far southwestern parts of Cape Girardeau County. The circulation has now moved in and through the Advance area. So for you folks in Bullinger County that are under that warning as well, excuse me, extreme southeastern Bullinger County, that circulation is almost out of your area. We can take a look, and there it is right here. But we got some very strong winds to the south of Advance. You can see it's pretty broad now. It looks like that circulation is broadening out, but as we take a look, let's see some of these wind speeds that are being shown by the storm. We can see some of these storms some of these winds are gusting pretty strong. Well, we can't see it right now because of that. Let me see if I can keep that on there. Nope. We'll look at it again. Try and see what we've got on the wind speeds here. Now this is headed into Bell City right now. 75 mile per hour winds. So that could definitely do some damage even if you don't have a tornado. So on the south side of the circulation, this is part of that gust front I was telling you about. We're seeing 60 to 70, maybe 75 mile per hour wind gusts moving through the area. And we can follow this down through Bell City. And then as we follow the gust front to the south into Stoddard County, it's not as strong, but we are still seeing some very strong winds. Again, look at this. This is the gust front. This is well out ahead of the main storm. This is very strong gusty winds for being displaced so far from the thunderstorm. So all along this gust front, we're probably seeing winds close to 50 miles per hour. Now that one is not that strong, 29 miles per hour, but you can see that we do have some very strong gusty winds. And I'm going to back up just a bit so you can see what I'm talking about here, where the gust front is compared to where the storms are. So this is the gust front, this blue line right here, and then it wraps back into the storm in Advance. And here's our possible tornado. Now, the circulation, as you see, has broadened out. So we may not be seeing a tornado at this time, but it's close, folks. And that's why they did that tornado warning, because we saw it wrapping up pretty tightly there briefly near Advance as this storm interacted with the gust front. So as we follow this back down, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings out again for Stoddard County You can see this strong storm from Dexter down to Bernie and Culin, and then it kind of just tapers off as this is what's going to be headed into southern Dunklin County. So this is pretty weak, but we're seeing the gust front going right into the Malden area right now. So you're probably seeing some fairly gusty winds in Malden as well. There you go, new severe thunderstorm warning that Paducah just issued, and it's for New Madrid County, Scott County, parts of Mississippi County, and it's just following that gust front. You see the gust front right here. This is where the damaging winds are right now, well out ahead of the storm, and then that damaging wind wraps back in to this circulation that is near the Advance area. So let's kind of zoom on in back to our possible tornado, our radar indicated tornado. Again, the strong gusty winds, the damaging winds right now, the hail looks like it's going to stay south of Jackson, stay south of Cape Girardeau. But for parts of the area, we're going to be seeing some pretty strong gusty winds. As this system moved through Wayne County, I got reports of a lot of tree damage. I got a lot of tree damage in Reynolds County as well. Earlier, this storm produced tennis ball size hail in northern Reynolds County. So we did see some very large hail with these storms. This is not producing that large a hail right now. This storm is producing probably dime-sized hail at the most. And that's not really what we're concerned with. We're concerned with the possibility of a tornado. And again, we are not seeing much in the way of a tight circulation. That looks like to be the same thing we saw earlier. I'm going to check another source. I want to just we have another radar that may have updated just a tad quicker. And I want to make sure that we're still seeing that possibility of a tornado. And yeah, this is pretty broad, the circulation I'm looking at, but I'm also seeing widespread 70-mile-per-hour winds on radar moving through the Bell City area, and this is going to move into the Oran area, Morley, Benton, Blodgett. All these areas are going to see some very strong gusty winds over the next hour. So it would be a good idea to make sure you are in an interior room, even if you don't get a tornado, because we're going to be talking about some very strong gusty winds that could be doing some damage as it moves into your area. We could also see some power outages. So a good idea if you're in Blodgett, you don't have a long time. Morley, not a long time, but you could plug in those devices, start to get a charge, and that could help out. Again, excuse me, I'm going to show you where those very strong winds are. It should show up on here as well. This is that pocket of very strong winds. Here's the possible tornado right here. Again, we're still seeing the possible circulation. It has weakened significantly. So this tornado warning probably will not be extended into Scott County. So we'll continue to watch that closely. But it's this that I'm concerned with. Right along Highway 91 from Bell City into Blodgett, we're going to see some very strong winds. This will likely cause some power outages, some tree damage. And that's why I say just get away from the windows, get inside your home, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Another little kink's trying to form right there. Let me see if that matches up with the reflectivity. It kind of does. We got a little bit of a kink that's trying to form right here. We've got this strong winds blowing through Bell City right now, and another little kink that's trying to form. We'll have to watch that over the next few minutes. But again, the big story right now is we have that tornado warning out. The tight rotation we saw just a little bit ago has weakened a pretty good bit. So that's definitely some good news. Let's go ahead and we're going to put a track on the whole storm itself where that surge of gusty winds are to let you know. And this is going to be over the next hour. So we're going to do about an hour-long track here. And you can see some of the areas that are going to be impacted. Again, right here, radar showing 70-mile-per-hour winds. So we'll likely see some tree damage. We will likely see some power outages. So you definitely want to, again, charge your devices if you can right now. Let's start to get a good charge on them. And stay away from windows as we could have some tree damage, trees blowing around if they easily go through the windows. So it'd be definitely a good idea to kind of be in your interior room. Even though we don't have a tornado warning out for Scott County, I'm not expecting a tornado warning, but I am concerned about the strong gusty winds that are going to be moving through Scott County and eventually headed towards Cairo, you can see here within the hour. So that's something we're going to be monitoring as well. So let's back things up and get everybody caught up to date real quick. Again, we have a tornado warning that is out, as you can see here, for extreme southern Cape Girardeau County, extreme southeastern Bullinger County. Again, the circulation is out of Bullinger County, so we don't have to worry about that. We've got that circulation is moving east of Advance now, so we'll see if they continue that warning. I doubt they will, so we're probably going to be throwing things back to a regular program here in about 5 minutes or so, and then we will continue to watch this system closely. I'm going to stop the radar motion because I want to take a look at the storm that's headed towards Perry County in southern Illinois, because this is a very strong storm as well. I think our main threat with this storm is hail up to the size of quarters. You can see this is a pretty big storm. It's probably slightly elevated, which means it's not in contact with the surface air. We'll take a look at the winds. Not seeing anything that shows tornadoes, but we are seeing some very gusty winds. A gust front right there. We got a new severe thunderstorm warning I'll show you here in just a second. I want to take a look to see if there's how large the hail is, if there's a chance that we got some really large hail. And we are not seeing the giant hail signature, so that is definitely some good news. But probably dime to quarter size hail and winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour just west of Sparta. And again, that's going to be headed into Perry County, Illinois. So Pinckneyville, that's for you. Du Quoin, that's for you. Let's see where this new severe thunderstorm warning is. And it is for the Jackson, Cape Girardeau area. It's for the northern end of this strong storm as we continue to track it. Again, the strongest winds, in my mind, appear to be just south of Jackson and just south of Cape Girardeau. So it looks like the strongest winds will probably miss that area. But let's back things up and we'll take a look at that here in just a second. Let's switch things over to the reflectivity so we can see there's that purple showing the possibility of some hail and some high winds there. That's headed towards Pinckneyville here shortly. Let's back things out and let's take a look at the storm that's moving into the Cape Girardeau area and the Jackson area where that newest warning is. Again, this is expanding just a bit. We're seeing a little bit more in the way of an updraft right here. So we may be seeing some stronger winds getting ready to develop. Yeah, we are. We are seeing a very strong patch of winds right along Highway 25. This is going through the Whitewater area. Let's zoom on in here for just a second to give you an update and give you an idea on how strong some of these winds are. You can see as we look at the, you can see the legend here, 50 mile per hour winds. So 50 to 60 mile per hour winds probably right along Highway 25. And this strong winds are staying just to the south of Whitewater, headed towards Dutchtown. These strong winds are also headed in towards the Dalhousie area and then eventually the southern end of Cape Girardeau based on the current movement. No tornadoes seen with this, just very, very strong gusty winds moving into southern Cape Girardeau County, headed towards the Chaffee area as well, parts of Scott County. All right, I'm going to pan down to the south and see how our tornadic circulation is looking. And we're still seeing it right here. A little bit of a weak circulation, but boy, this is more of a concern to me. That's headed towards Van Duzer and headed towards Morley. That is some very, very strong winds. Let's go ahead and get an estimate from the radar. It just updated, so let's see what some of the radar are estimating for some of these winds. They looked stronger just a second ago. It's still 76 mile per hour winds going towards the radar right now. So you get the idea. This definitely caused some significant damage as it heads towards Van Duzer, also the Blodgett area. We're going to be headed towards the I-55 corridor. Let's pan on out. We're going to switch things over. Take a look at the tornado warning. That's just what I expected. I expected the tornado warning to be canceled, but I want to hang out just about another 2 to 3 minutes. I want to get another velocity update here, right here near Oran. Again, here's the gust front. You see that out there, and it's twisting back to the west. It's going just west of Blodgett, and it's going into the Oran area. So right here is where you could get another spin up. So I'm going to watch this area closely over the next 5 minutes or so before we throw things back to regular scheduled programming. So let's give you an idea of what's happening right now. We've got a line of severe storms moving from Jackson to Cape Girardeau down towards the Dexter area. The gust front is well out ahead of it. Again, I'll put it just on the reflectivity. Look how far the gust front is away from the actual line of storms. And that's going to cause this area of the storms to weaken because the gust front's pushing out so far that the warm air that is needed to ingest these storms to keep going is being cut off by this strong outflow boundary. It's probably what we call a roll cloud, that if you could see it, it would just be like this big tube that's rolling across the sky right now that's headed towards Mississippi County, and behind that is very, very strong gusty winds. You can see we got a flash flood warning again for Wayne County and parts of Bulliger County. Again, the tributaries and the rivers around the Castor River, Big Creek, St. Francis River valleys. Very concerned about those low water bridge crossings. I'm also still concerned about the Black River valleys, the Middle Fork, the West and East Fork, those low water bridge crossings around there. Copious amounts of rain and hail earlier today could have those low water bridge crossings. The water's probably a little higher than you're used to, and it is unsafe to drive. All right, let's get another look at the storm right near the Oran area before we throw things back to regular programming. Again, you can see that gust front very closely, and it's wrapping right into the Oran area. So let me take a look and see what we got here weather-wise. And thank goodness, there's still some very strong winds, but there's not a tight circulation right now. It looks like we are seeing that circulation that was the possible tornado has weakened significantly. And so that is definitely some good news. Real quick, again, boy, this is weakened just a bit, but it's still looking like 60-mile-per-hour winds in western Scott County, going to go just north of the Sykeston area. Here are the strong winds right here in southern Cape Girardeau County that's going to kind of ride right along the Cape Girardeau and Scott County line. We'll get an idea of how strong these winds are when they get to the airport. Again, this could impact the Dalhousie area all the way over towards Menards, and then the southern part of Cape Girardeau is where we could see the strongest winds with that. We'll pan up just a bit and see about the Jackson area. Not seeing any strong winds in the Jackson area. Sure, they could gust up to 40 miles per hour, but this is the biggest concern right along the Cape Girardeau, Scott County line. No tornado here. No tornado here. Just strong, gusty winds right now. So we're going to continue to keep our eyes on the radar for you closely, with there not being any signs of winds over 80 miles per hour or a tornado right now. It's safe for us to throw it back to regular programming, but we will continue to monitor this throughout the overnight hours.
Here's tonight's QR code in the Home Sweet Home Entertainment giveaway. Turn on your phone's camera and scan this code to register for your chance to win an 85-inch big screen TV. You have until midnight to register, and you can enter once per day. Watch again tomorrow night for the next QR code of the day.